by Katie Stallard, Asia correspondent, in Marawi City, Philippines. After 5 months of intense fighting, the Philippine President has declared Marawi City liberated from militants who pledged allegiance to Islamic State. Rodrigo Duterte said the battle had been a triumph of good over evil, but warned the military to be prepared for any event. The siege in the southern Mindanao city may be over, but the streets around what was the front line are still not safe. Many of the buildings have been rigged with improvised explosive devices, and there is a danger of further attacks. Sky News traveled into the main battle zone with Philippine Special Forces. Among the rubble of what was the central business district, we saw graffiti proclaiming the Islamic State of the world, and buildings riddled with firing positions. Sky views the beginning of his in Asia image. Marawi was destroyed by 5 months of fighting between state forces and his militants. One of the Marines from the Force Reconnaissance Unit, which was one of the first to arrive here, showed us what they faced as they fought their way into a compound the militants controlled. He pointed out the small holes that had been drilled through the walls, just big enough for the muzzle of the rifle to pass through, enabling the gunmen to fire from behind thick concrete. Inside the compound, he showed us how the militants used tunnels to move around between buildings. Secondary positions were established along the back wall to provide covering fire while others could escape. These positions also allowed the fighters to target government troops as they came through the doorway. Images. Allied militants are said to have taken more than 1,700 hostages during the fighting across the compound. He led our team into what had been a doctor's house before the militants took control. On the ground, among scattered belongings and packets of syringes, we saw a copy of the Quran and a pamphlet entitled Confessions of a British Spy. British enmity against Islam. The Marines said they had been attacked with Molotov cocktails as they moved inside. This close-quarters urban combat, at times fighting house to house, is a new tactic for rebel groups in the Philippines. Most of our forces are used to fighting in the jungle, Lieutenant Ron Villarosa, 4th Special Forces Battalion of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, explained. Image. In some areas, homes have been completely destroyed. This is a new urban tactic that the enemy is using. The fighting was complicated by the militants seizing large numbers of hostages to use as human shields. They are said to have forced the men to fight with them, and some of the women to marry their captors, to become their sex slaves. The siege started on the 23rd of May, when militants led by Islamic State's Emir for Southeast Asia, Isnilan Hapalan, and 2 leaders of the local Islamist Maut group moved in with hundreds of heavily armed fighters. All 3 men are believed to have been killed in the fighting, which resulted in 1,780 hostages being rescued. Image. The militants fighting government forces in Marawi pledged allegiance to Islamic State, but reclaiming this city has meant destroying large parts of it. The price of liberation here has been utter devastation. And senior officers here know only too well that it will take more than airstrikes and artillery to destroy the ideology behind this. We cannot kill the ideology, Lt. Villarosa acknowledged. The ideology is there to stay. We can only render it irrelevant. We can render it irrelevant if the people feel they are being taken care of by the government. Image. A soldier points out a hole used by militants to fire through. That is easier said than done. As the 1st of Marawi, more than 300,000 displaced residents begin to come home. Many are finding their houses badly damaged, and their belongings missing. One man showed us what he had managed to salvage, contained within a single plastic bag. A prayer mat, a book of Islamic studies, simple things, he said, smiling. They took everything, even the iron, a small rice cooker, they got it all. When asked who he thought had taken them, he said, "We did not see, but this place is controlled by the military." 100% Image. Residents are arriving home to find they have lost most of their valuables. We heard that same story over and over again, that all the valuables were gone, and all from areas the residents believed were under the military's control. This is all we've got left, another man said, holding up a single, charred gold bracelet. Look world, look what happened here. Please world, help use this. Will be the next battle for the military and the government here, managing the anger of families returning home to find they have lost everything, and looking for someone to blame.